That's right. You hear the music again? Let's ride out. Just ride out with me for a little bit. Ooh, ooh. Okay, okay. Anyway, as we ease into this is episode number 4. Why is that significant? The average podcast only has 4 episodes, which means a bunch of people have started podcasts. They have tons of episodes and other people never uploaded past 1 or haven't uploaded at all. So the fact that we made it to number 4 is a big deal. And I'm very excited and I'm very, very happy about that. And I'm proud of myself. The other significant thing about this episode is this will be our last audio only episode. After this, we will be going to video and audio. So you'll have both options, not just one. And video, girl, yes, I know a thing about video production, but babes, video production plus the audio, it's going to add another layer of complication, but bear with me while I learn and get my process together. This is currently a one-woman operation as of now. So we'll see how it goes. But lucky y'all, you'll be able to see my beautiful face. Let's move into this check-in. Now, I decided to name the episode after the theme of my overall check-in. And that is June Owes Me Nothing. It's July 10th, and when I wrote out this outline, it was like, it was still the first week of July when I was feeling it the most, and it still stands. In the month of June, I've been able to expand my community and expand my network, which is beautiful and valuable. I get to feel connected and do what I love all at the same time. June was not what I expected it to be, though. I thought it was going to be this content heavy month and I was gonna post all these videos on Instagram and I was gonna try to get in a few more episodes instead of keeping our bi-weekly-ish schedule that we have now. And then I thought, oh well, I'm gonna get out all these graphics and it's gonna be this moving machine by the time I'm done with June. But it wasn't like that, and that's okay. Toward the end, things began to slow down. I had some commission come in, so it was okay that my part-time job didn't really have much going on, and that led me with so much time. I got to just live. And for those who have read The Artist's Way, June, especially the end of June, really turned into one big artist date. Those last 2 weeks, I just got to go outside, go for walks, try new restaurants, go out, spend some time with people and meet new people, expand with myself, truly be able to become present. When I wrote down while I was journaling was that I expanded creatively, I expanded professionally, and I expanded spiritually. Coming away from June, feeling inspired to create and continue to build, and what building and creating looks like has now changed for me. It's not this necessarily corporate like structure, at least not yet, And then I'm coming away with elevated levels of production. The way that this episode sounds is much different than how the first episode sounded. So that's a big accomplishment for me. We got music in the beginning. Pretty soon we're going to have some other stuff. And like I said, bear with me because I have to get this to translate on video, but that's coming as well. Now I also feel comfortable with the idea of collaboration. Throughout June, when I was meeting new people, I realized a lot of folks I know are in artist collectives. And I'm like, I don't know about doing things collectively. But it always comes out beautifully. And I think I just hadn't completely opened my mind to it because I just haven't met my tribe yet when it comes to the arts. And so I see I could get further and a lot more done with that. And I think being in community with other artists closely would just be a beautiful experience. Sometimes when you're talking to your non-artist friends, not necessarily the ones that are really supportive, but the ones that are kind of like, I kind of get it. But the ones that really get it, I always have the most beautiful conversations with them. And so if I could have that element of closeness and our art is intimately intertwined, I think I'd like that. And the last thing I would say I got out of June is that I'm ready to establish an even stronger identity creatively. As time goes on, I'm feeling more and more concrete about what I want to do and how I want to go about it. I will go into detail about what will be done in real life toward the end of the podcast. But transitioning out of what felt good to me in June, something that's been at my forefront is do it uncomfortable. Get uncomfortable. Not get uncomfortable, girl. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I spent a lot of time working through those feelings with discomfort in my relationship to discomfort. And while it's been uncomfortable, as you'd imagine, it is now worth it. Waiting for that delay of time and awkwardness and isolation until I could really figure it out. It was all worth it. And now I expect things to be uncomfortable in the beginning sometimes. And my mindset is now evolved. Now discomfort is just a feeling of the unknown. My security can't always rest in definitive manifestation of the physical. Sometimes you need to trust what you can't see. And that's what that discomfort was trying to be okay with trusting what I couldn't see. And I mean, you could say I saw it, air quotes, but it wasn't in the physical yet. And that's okay. It's worth it. It's worth the wait. And it's only grown my confidence to continue to push forward and do more and more things. And again, we will get into what those things are toward the end. But for right now, I want to talk about what I was feeling during that time of discomfort, what it was connected to. What were these overruling, like loading things over my head? One of those things was silence and the other was anxiety. And first, we're going to talk about that bitch silence, that motherfucker. Where to begin with that? So as a kid, I've always been a lot more introverted, a lot more quiet. But when it was time for me to speak, I would speak the truth. And that's how I learned that people do not like the truth, girl. They be saying they're ready for it, but they're not ready for it. Not when it comes from someone who is selective about what they have to say and who is highly observant. I know you better than you know you. A little scary for some. Starting with the pros of silence. When you know when to shut the fuck up, there's very little that can get past you. I notice a lot. I notice a lot of things. I notice little nuances in conversations. I can hear your deepest and darkest insecurities when you speak. And sometimes from the things that you don't speak, it's there. It's obvious. I can pay attention to mannerisms. What's the other big one that the neurospicy girls talk about? Pattern recognition. Like, I can see anything if something's slightly off. I notice it. There's nothing. But what I've noticed is people sometimes take silence for weakness. And people think because you're quiet that nothing is going on behind those eyes, which is disturbing and alarming. You think because someone's not talking that their brain ain't moving? Girl. You think in order for someone to prove what they have going on upstairs that they need to constantly expose it to you? That's crazy. Yikes. While that is a pro, it did get to a point at a certain time where the silence was leading to abuse. I would say abuse in the workplace for sure. And in like romantic sexual relationships, being afraid of being perceived, being afraid of like being perceived as being difficult, and always feeling constantly anxious and on edge. So rather than being silent, but more so being silenced is what it was feeling like this crippling anxiety about showing myself, showing who I am, and having low self-esteem and not really understanding my value and the power behind my voice and why it's okay to speak up. I had this fear that if I spoke up for myself, things would just blow up. And when it comes to being in the workplace, that's an uncomfortable situation to be in when you have rent and bills to pay. What are you going to do? Right? Rent is due tomorrow. You might have to deal with this bitch in your face. What if I don't get another job? Now I'm not in a position where that feeling is no longer true, but it is something that I had dealt with on multiple different occasions. And, I don't live in Minnesota anymore. That's part of the reason why I moved, was that workplace discrimination and it being like this constant thing of, damn, I can't even just exist. If I'm in this bitch just existing, minding my business, being respectful, it's seen as a threat. I have to go out of my way to do something. And it didn't make me feel the need to go out of my way. It just made me more and more uncomfortable and more relish to silence. I've noticed silence in my family. I noticed my grandmother, who she passed away in 2009, so it's been a minute, but she was very quiet and also like very observant and very caring and very loving, and she held on to a lot and didn't really express it to everyone. I'm assuming she had a confidant, but I do wonder sometimes if silence was a prison for her. Like with how little she had to say. It just to give you an idea, I don't have any like any profound quotes from her. One of the main things I remember was her going, if I was about to touch something. And just our routines each day, like it was very much an energetic exchange. I loved her so much, and we were very, very connected. And she had a beautiful smile, and she would make butterfly hot dog sandwiches with the sandwich, like it was awfully black on both sides, and she would put it on Wonder Bread with some mustard, and we ate saltine crackers and peanut butter. We had cornflakes with some sugar on it instead of frosted flakes, and we listened to Michael Jackson, and we watched the Wheel of Fortune. Like I remember her being so. Silence to me was never an issue as a child. So continuing on with just speaking when I wanted to, I didn't know it would be such an issue for other people around me to think that my silence was allowing space for mistreatment, and it's just not the truth. And since I was so young when she passed away, I do wonder if she also had that same experience. I'm trying to decide about how much more in depth I want to get about my own personal life when it comes to violation of certain things. I don't think I'm ready to go too far into it. So I'll just give some like examples of things that have happened. I want to say like sexually, or like trying to date, this feeling of coercion and wanting to say stop, but not necessarily feeling comfortable because I don't want to be a mood killer, or I'm scared. I don't know what's going to happen next. What if I fight back and I lose? So there's just this element of silence. I haven't necessarily spoke these things out loud before, and it is a little disturbing listening to this back, and I'm going to have to go back and edit this, and we'll see if it stays. If you're hearing it right now, it stayed. But after time has passed and I've become this full-grown, amazing adult who lives in the big city, and I'm no longer a shell of myself, I feel great. I feel liberated. I now know the power of speaking and not being silent, but specifically speaking my truth. Right here, this podcast is an expression of me speaking my truth. I hope that it inspires other people to do the same. Part of speaking the truth, I've learned, is letting go of the consequences, or letting go of the fear of the consequences of speaking your truth. My only thing I need to worry about is my good intention. If I have well intentions behind the truth, let the chips fall where they may. Even if that means losing people behind the truth, it is what it is. If they weren't meant to be here, that's okay. Just allowing things to flow rather than being silent and holding my breath. What a relief. And I'm grateful. I will still continue to know when to shut the fuck up. Now I'm silent instead of being silenced. And I love that about me, being comfortable. And what I will leave us off with on this topic, with comfort in being silent and with being with myself, is that sometimes your silence, especially when it's a comfortable silence, it shows up as a mirror for other people. People feel like there's a gap, there's a space that they need to fill with their insecurity. And so when they don't know what to do, they want you to go out of their way to go back in and to fill that space and to reassure them that everything is okay. Not your responsibility. Allow that energy to show up and be a reflection to them in the mirror, and go about your business, because there's nothing wrong with being cool and being comfortable. Let people scramble a little bit. It's okay. Silence is a topic that recently came up for me. So it's something that I wanted to talk about on here. And it's been such a big factor for me over my life so far. I think it's something I want to do like public speaking about and workshops about how I overcame said silence and how much has changed my life by speaking up, speaking the truth, and being myself unapologetically. And here I am talking for a living. It's crazy how things change, but I'm grateful. Let's make our way into anxiety. It's my anxiety. Anxiety and tied to the silence. So part of the silence was those fears that I mentioned, those fears that things were going to blow up and fall apart if I just spoke my mind, but also how much anxiety consumed me into building my own personal prison. I want to talk about how consuming anxiety feels within the body. For me, my neck was tight. My stomach was messed up. My skin was looking crazy. I got the psoriasis, but girl, my psoriasis don't be psoriasing like it used to now. And it had a lot to do with anxiety. Since my anxiety has gone, I've lost a lot of weight as well. Like everything was just frozen in time and holding on because I was constantly worried about the future because I was so unhappy with the present. And as I transitioned out of that, I had to release my attachment to things that were not serving me. And I had such a strong attachment to things that weren't serving me because they were predictable. And the predictability in my mind was okay, but it was really the source of my anxiety, not being happy, wanting things to change, but also at the same time, energetically holding things in place because I knew how they would land, even though I was unhappy with the way that they were landing. So once I released and allowed things to just be, shit actually went left. I'm not going to hold you. I was having a rough time financially. I didn't know if I was going to have to move back to Minnesota. I was extremely depressed. I was very isolated because I didn't really have any friends in this new city. The friend that I did have, I decided that it was time to have that conversation with that person to let them know how I was feeling. And I ended up not hearing from them after that, which was one of the concerns about speaking my mind, like I mentioned before. But after that essential purge of all of that, slowly, very, very slowly, but surely things began to change. I was able to allow new things into my life. And I was able to reassess my approach with how I was living life by choosing things that I truly wanted to do, allowing my mind to get rid of those guardrails that I had set just because they were predictable, even though I didn't even like what I was predicting. I didn't like it. And now I love what's happening. Things are still a little bit like, I don't know what's happening next, but I'm liking the journey so far. And as each thing goes by, enters my life, even if it's unexpected or I'm unsure, it's been mostly positive. And I've loosened up the reins on wanting predictability. A lot of the stuff that's happening right now, I would not have predicted that it would happen this way, but I'm okay with whatever the results may be. And as I continue to grow, I'm always like, dang, I thought I grew before, but I keep expanding more and more and more and more and more. Being tied to the energy, but less tied to the result has allowed for a lot of my anxiety to go. This has been a very, very long process to get to the other end of that consuming anxiety where I was extremely unhappy and depressed and crying all the time and constantly having my head in the future and not being present and grounded because I didn't like what I was dealing with or what I was going through at the time. Long process. Would I do it again? Fuck no. I wouldn't do that shit again, but I'm so grateful that I went through it and it's behind me. Now what's in front of me, I don't know, because we're not being anxious. Okay, moving on. That was a good session. I wasn't sure what I was going to say about that, but that was good. Yeah, I don't know. How do we transition out of anxiety? Let's talk about some other things. Let's talk about joy. Let's talk about business. I've been trying to add a little bit more about the entrepreneurship piece of my life in here because it is something that's always growing and developing. And as I'm taking the time to explore what I want to do in the public sphere, something I'm very conscious of is digital footprint. And I'm trying to be conscious of my impact. And I'm like, dang, it's almost making me live life through a certain filter. I don't know if this is the right filter. Should I speak a little bit more from my mind? Wanting to being in a position where I want to always say the right thing. And I'm afraid, like, if I say this thing and I think it's right and I go on, I live life, things blow up, I get real, real big, it's going to come back and bite me in the ass. And I'm not even out here saying problematic things, I don't think. So something I have been conscious of. And my thoughts lately around digital footprint are kind of tied to those things, the silence and the anxiety. But now that I'm in the position that I'm in, it is something that I'm in a good position to be able to handle mentally, emotionally, and spiritually right now. Just a thought. Now, this next piece is, I don't think we've talked about this. I don't really talk about dating on here, but I had such a good conversation about it. We cannot leave this on the table. We can't. And I didn't want to get too deep into dating on here because I don't want this to turn into a 50-50 conversation. I want to have good, beautiful, genuine conversations about love because we all deserve to experience it. You get to deserve to experience those things from yourself, outside of you, within your community, with your romantic partnerships. But sometimes conversations that we have surrounding dating can be so toxic. People can't really have these conversations in pure faith, but we are today. So our next topic is partnership. Dun, dun, dun. There's someone within my community that I've talked to here and there, but this past time I got to talk to them, I loved the conversation. I just felt like he was preaching to the choir, like he knew he was in my head. We had the same life experiences. I'm like, girl, how you know that? Like, how you know? Shout out to him though. He's cool people. And I hope our friendship continues to grow because it was great to be able to have this type of conversation with someone who gets it, who's around the same, well, I can't say around the same age. We're the same age, we're like a few months apart, but we're the same age. And I was able to get some insight from someone who was of the opposite sex and just have like a real conversation. It was cool. So something our conversation made me reflect on is at the ripe old age of 25, I know I'm getting up there, is we're asking the questions, what does it mean to date? What does it mean? What does it look like? How do you date? And at this age, it's like, okay, 25, you're kind of getting over the hill there. Not over the hill in life, but if you're a girl, it's time to start thinking about partnership. Like, is that something that you want to do? Do you want to have kids eventually? All that. Because of the economy, most people aren't really equipped to do these things at that time. People are waiting to do it in their 30s, but biologically, after like 35, it does become a lot harder or just a lot more expensive. So something I've thought about. And does partnership include having to find somebody who's a great parent, right? It's just all these different things that were on my mind that get so misconstrued and are not having conversations in good faith. It was nice to be able to say, okay, what is dating? And then dating non-exclusively, understanding that dating is a form of exploration, not just an exploration of who you are in a romantic situation, relationship, but also exploration of the self. Like, what do you need? And maybe you find out through dating that you want to be single, or you want to be monogamous but not necessarily partnered. Maybe you're like a quote unquote serial monogamous and you just want to have one partner at a time while it lasts, and then it doesn't. And it doesn't make you a bad person. That might just be what it is for you. And it's important that I take my time, especially while I'm young, to explore those things. Something else that I was able to reflect on was not being someone who's good at dating non-exclusively, feeling like, oh, I really like this person, let me just lock in and let me just focus because I can't be too distracted by other things. Giving people my loyalty when it's not necessary. Like, nobody asked for that. And this is my life. This is my time, and everything's going to be okay. And I do have options now that I've moved from Minnesota. I do have options, and I should allow myself to explore without feeling this weird guilt. Like, there's no reason to be guilty. Everybody just dates. And if there's a time to be exclusive or to talk about exclusivity, that conversation will come up. And it's also important that I learn to have clear, open communication rather than a lot of the weird games that we play. I won't even say we, that people be playing, okay? Because the jugger don't play them games, all right? And reflecting on that aspect of non-exclusivity, I think that previous mindset came from being a late bloomer when it comes to dating, and being from Minnesota, where women who look like me are not what's considered to be desirable at all. If girl out there, if it ain't white, they're not going. And you know what makes it even worse? Even the white women have a hard time dating. It's really just a rough market. It's really rough. I think my dating experience has just been consistently horrendous. So it was such a turn for me to come here to Chicago and be called beautiful. Every time I leave the house, I get called beautiful at least once, minimum by somebody. And gender, it doesn't really matter, any of that. Like, somebody's outside genuinely calling me beautiful, all those different things. And so now that I'm engaging in community that's a bit more mixed, men and women, rather than just primarily women like I was before, there's more people here and there who take romantic interest in me. And so this has been a brand new experience for me, like somebody taking interest in me in real life rather than having to use the apps and trying to learn how to have those conversations. Like, if I'm interested in somebody and I want to present that, what do you do if you had no game? Like, I had no reason to even have game because there was no options. Or if someone's approaching me, how do I want them to have that conversation with me? How do we transition into that? Because I'm in a lot of creative spaces. They're not necessarily like spaces that are associated with dating, but potential is potential. And also understanding that within dating, it's important to keep an open mind, because this is exploration for the self, exploration between me and that person as well. And having this mindset has allowed for me to feel a lot more, I was going to say lighthearted, but just a lot more open in general, rather than this very depressing, sad thought of, oh, I'm just going to be alone forever and accepting anything and feeling like if I can just hop into something, then everything will be okay. Wrong. Now that I have a lot more options than before, it's allowed me to reflect on myself and thinking, dang, like, I am really, really engaged in the work that I'm doing and the communities that I want to grow, and Visionary Sanctum, all those things. I'm so focused on building. How am I going to have the time to be in a relationship? Now that my ideas of a relationship has changed, that's something else that me and my friend had spoken about, is where's the time? Because also at this age of 25, being like smack dab in the middle of your 20s, sure, you want partnership, but you also want to be a full person. Like, I know I want to be someone who has built the foundation of my life and engaging in partnership. Now, if the right person comes along before I'm done, building said foundation, that is okay. But I at least want to feel somewhat anchored in something, have some type of motion for the things that I love and enjoy, and this beautiful, vibrant community that I'm a part of. It's important that I feel fulfilled as a person and that I'm engaging with somebody else who is also feeling fulfilled, because Angelica never gave, oh, I'm in a relationship, let me disappear from all my friends and not talk to anybody. Like, what if I get bored of this nigga? Like, and I just have never seen like this person, like a life partner being the center of my world. I gotta have a full life. People who do start off that way, it looks fun until years go by and it's like, oh, I really need some friends. My only friend is my boyfriend. That shit sound depressing. You don't got hobbies? Or maybe you should get a couple hobbies. Ain't nothing wrong with that. That's something else I've been considering. And then also with this idea of partnership, what does that mean? What does that look like? Like, I'm thinking, okay, maybe somebody who... No, I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to speak into that right now. But yeah, there's like different ideas of partnership in general. Some people feel like your partner should be like your companion, like your friend. Then there's like a romantic and a sexual aspect. And then there's also the aspect of building together financially, building your assets. Something people don't think about, when you are combining with that person, you're also combining with their financial history. So if that person's in debt, that also falls on you. You need to help them clear their debt, and you could go in on a mortgage together. It's just a lot. It's a lot of stuff that's all combined and intertwined. What does that mean? What does that look like? And what are the aspects of a good partner? Since I went from being undesirable to desirable, my options went from slim to not so slim. And I feel like I'm so late in the game to discover these things. But I'm glad that I'm going to get a chance to discover these things, because if I'm being honest with myself, I don't know. And I didn't have the time that I wanted to have time, and dating in terms of priority has kind of moved since I've invested so much into myself. It's a big deal for me to say, I just don't know. But I'm going to use dating as a tool for exploration to learn. What does that mean? And I think another important piece would be to mention that I'm off those apps. Once I moved here, I was like, deleting the apps. Initially it was to focus, because I wasn't pretty unstable. I wasn't the most stable the first year, and I wanted to like focus on becoming a lot more stable and established in a new city, because that's the reason I moved here. So I deleted the apps. And then once I started going out, I was like, you know what? I think I might be able to meet somebody in person. Like, I'm building community. I do make sure to mention in my community that I am single. So just in case somebody knows somebody else, put me on. It's out there. I'm open. I don't know if anybody else can relate to this aspect, but I'm a good judge of character, of energy. So at least I think I am. So when I meet people in person, kind of like you would a friend, you just know when you like connect with somebody. You just know when their energy is there and they're not there, whether or not you're feeling it or not feeling it. And it was just becoming disappointing, like with these dates, because like when that person sits down in front of you, fuck no, the picture's not quite right, all that. There's so many aspects of just I don't know, before that first date that's literally cut out when you meet that person in person. Like, you hear what they're saying, you hear what they're talking about, especially in artist creative spaces when people are sharing so much of themselves. Yeah, I want to transition out of this topic. So the very last piece that I will mention is, within this dating journey, learning or trying to learn, is I'm going to allow myself to enjoy chemistry, even though I know it isn't it for everything. So that kind of goes back to the earlier piece that I mentioned of non-exclusivity and being open to exploration and learning about myself, learning about dating, learning about connecting with another person, and getting rid of this idea that the intention to date is only to meet your end all be all. there might be somebody out there. I'm now open to the fact that there might be somebody out there that I just have incredible chemistry with, and we have a great time for a season, and then it's over and it's okay. And I don't have to end it early on thinking, oh, I don't see myself being partnered with this person. Sometimes like I just deserve to have that experience, just have that experience. It is life. So why not? All right, I've been rambling a little bit about dating. So last topic we're going to get into is about events and time. We're going to combine those two just a little bit. Walk with me. So earlier on within the episode, I had mentioned that there was some things that were happening. I was feeling inspired from June, and I felt like I wanted to expand creatively and stuff like that. So one of the ways that I feel like I'm going to expand is events. I think I've mentioned wanting to do events and dinners and things like that. And people kept asking me, and I was going to do it in the fall. But now I'm like, fuck it, we ball. Let's do it now. I woke up one day like every day that goes by, I'm putting myself more and more out there and making the steps to really live the life that I want to live, and I can always push it even further. So it's time. Like, it's been nice going to everybody else's events and meeting people, but I think I'm ready to be the center of the community that I choose to build. Oh my gosh, that's crazy to say. Yeah. But girl, I'm going to do it. I'm going to start small. I'm going to start off with like a few meetups. But I want them to be cute and I want them to be intentional. So I'm going to figure out some sponsors so I can make just some cute little goodie bags, maybe like some snacks and some keychains, maybe some journals, because I'm very big on writing everything down. When I'm talking to you guys on this podcast, I am referencing the notes that I write down in my notebook throughout the weeks in between that go by, just to make sure I have a robust episode. Like, it's very, very important. I know writing is a very important piece to a lot of people's creative practice. So I want to be conscious of that, and any other tools that I can give, maybe some fidgety things, the girls be a little neurospicy as well. So we'll figure it out. Just like a fun, memorable memento to take home about their experience. Within these meetups, I've been to some meetups that are kind of like, okay, everybody just talk to each other. I've been the awkward person that didn't know how to initiate communication. And then I moved into the person of, oh, I can initiate communication if I know what to say. And sometimes knowing what to say was having a proper icebreaker, hearing people say their name and what was going on and all that. And I want to be conscious of that, girl. Like, I'm making these events for you too, babe. So I got some cool icebreaker ideas to get everybody talking, people to share. And I really want people to leave my events feeling like, wow, not only did I have a great time, but I've also made some great connections, and go from there. I also want there to be a business networking aspect, not just the community building. Let's make some fucking money, bro. Like, we live in a capitalist society. Shit is really, really, really expensive, and it's so ideal just to be able to love and nurture everybody within your community. If there's a way that you can put somebody else on, do that. Let's help each other grow, build like this symbiotic kind of environment between each other, rather than just relying on these main sources that can be very difficult for a lot of people to obtain or maintain. Something just to think about. And then after I am done with the meetups, I'll start to do other things, but I'd like to just keep stuff free and accessible. And I think even as I continue to grow, that I will continue to always offer at least an aspect that's accessible, even if things become charged. I don't want everything to always be charged. Like, I'm gonna do my best to get sponsors and monetize that way so people can have a beautiful, robust, full experience at an accessible rate. It's definitely possible if you play your cards right. I've been able to think about this because of those 2 weeks that I've had of just everything being purely 100% on my own time. And even the rest of this month is going to be that way. So I'm ready to make it happen and grow the community. Before getting to that place of what I just described, I did have some doubts, like, what does it work? Like, what if it doesn't work? And like, how do I even if I feel aligned with this, like, what does that mean for me? Like, how does this grow into something? Because I got bills to pay too. I would love to just live a life of doing whatever the fuck I want to do, but that is always something that's looming over my head and everybody else's head as an artist, like survival. I got to do that too. And I'm going to take a leap of faith. I'm going to do what I feel like I need to do, which is build this community and see what happens. That and attract the rest. We got this far in faith. Let's keep going. That's how it ties into time for me. And with all this time on my hands, I'm excited to pull in what I want, manifest it in the physical, build this community and real life. I've been nervous about it, but I think I'm ready. And there's something grounded about openly sharing this with you all on episode 4, but keep a lookout. Follow me on Instagram at Visionary Sanctum. There's only one of us, okay? Keep a lookout for those things if you are in the city of Chicago or if you just want to reach out and support. And this is going to be a movement. All of us together. This is a movement. Visionary Sanctum is a movement. I'm creating space for creatives, represent hard for the Black creatives especially, and I want it to be an exclusive space for the authentic girls, not the weird bitches that want to be in with the in crowd, for the authentic girls. I want for everybody to feel free and real and be themselves. I've been saying I wanted this space. I found spaces like that, but it's time for me to go ahead and build it, and here we are. All of us together are a part of that. And I'm very grateful for anybody who has taken the time today to listen to this podcast and who plans to come on this journey as we continue to grow, both supporting virtually, online, and in person. And we're going to close out the episode like that. I know y'all heard that music. You know what that means. It's time to go. I'm excited. I will see y'all on the next episode 5. And on that episode, we'll be able to see our beautiful faces. If you follow my Instagram at Visionary Sanctum, I will post the links for where to find that next piece on YouTube. I'm also probably going to add it to the description for the podcast as well, so you guys can access both the audio and the video. And until then, I'll see y'all next time.